hi everyone, welcome to our webinar today, Collaborate in the Classroom. Just a quick introduction for those who have not been on a session with me before. My name's John, I'm the Senior Customer Education Manager at Vivi. Look after all the training for all our different schools. I've been with Vivi now for just over 6 years actually. 6 years and a month I'm up to now. Being part of the furniture these days. I always like to point out as well that I'm a former classroom teacher. So as soon as I say that, people are like, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about. So here to just run through a bunch of bits and pieces that you can do with Vivi. One thing I will mention just as I show what we're kind of going to look at today. For this particular session, we are looking at kind of those more advanced features of Vivi. So when we're talking collaborate in the classroom, we are really talking about moving beyond kind of the basics of share screen and kind of the basic uses of things like play content, that sort of stuff. So what I would encourage you to do, if you're like, oh, I'm still very, very brand new to Vivi, what I'll do, I'll pop up at the end kind of how you can access some of our training and stuff like that. So definitely feel free to utilize that. We've got kind of, we call it Vivi Level 1. So kind of the basics of Vivi, how to access that sort of stuff. So definitely feel free to work through that particular section as well. So I am not a death by PowerPoint kind of person. I like to jump straight in. What I wanted to cover is I wanted to cover first up a few brand new features. What I will say, those people who did attend my previous session, those few weeks back, I will apologize because 2 of these 3 I have shown you guys. But I just wanted to show for those people who did not attend that one, I wanted to show you guys these brand new features. So the first one of those is Share Window. So Share Window, this rolled out, was kind of earlier this year, it was about February or so. And essentially what it does is a little bit like when you're using something like Teams, you go to share your screen and it gives you that pop-up about which window you'd like to share. You can now do this with Vivi instead of sharing your entire screen. So let's say, for example, I have in here a PDF that I want to show to my class. Now with this, sorry, it's open it on my other screen there. So with this PDF, it's really awesome, but on the second page, there's a lot of content here and I want the students to be taking some information out of this. Maybe there's some questions on there, things like that. I want them to be looking at that, but at the same time, I want to do some other stuff on my computer at the same time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the Vivi app and I'm going to click on Share Window. Now what it'll do, it'll open this little pop-up here. And why isn't it not showing my PDF? There we go. So it'll open my little pop-up here and it'll give me my different ones. So obviously it's showing my Teams ones in here as well. So if you've got other stuff open, they will appear here. So you just select the one you want. In my case, it's my PDF here and share that window. So now what it's going to do, it's going to push through just that window to the display. I can move it if I want to. So for example, you'll see if I flick up on there, it will change to the other page on there as well. So I can utilize that. However, if I bring up anything else, so say I bring back up, in my case, my PowerPoint here, you'll see it won't appear on the screen there. So it's only going to push through that PDF. So super, super useful tool to have. Really makes it handy in the classroom. The one thing I am pointing out with this, because it is brand new, there is one limitation with it. So let me bring it up and I can show you on here. It says on there as a reminder, Windows sharing currently doesn't include audio. So just be aware of that. If you are sharing something that does need audio, then still use things like just general share screen. But for stuff like, as I've got there, a PDF, PowerPoint, that kind of thing, works beautifully if it doesn't have any audio in it. All right, so that's the first thing I wanted to show. Second thing I wanted to show you was Share Camera. So the first version of this rolled out about December last year, but we've had a couple of updates to it, including one that literally rolled out 2 days ago. There is one feature in here that you may not have yet. If not, your IT team will be getting that pushed out to you. So with this Share Camera, essentially it takes a live stream of your computer's webcam and pushes it through to the classroom display. So where I'm starting to see this used, first of all, as a quick and simple document camera. So, instead of having to worry about, having all these special things and stuff like that, if you've got something you need to quickly show up on the display and you've got a hard copy in front of you, you can quickly stream that up there. The second way I'm seeing it used is those teachers who teach either a practical subject or something that has some sort of practical element. So say you're doing like a science and you're doing an experiment, and you kind of don't want the students all crowded around your desk. You can aim your laptop's webcam at the experiment, stream it up onto the display so the students can see. So the way it works, super easy. I click on share camera. What it's going to do the first time I use it, it may bring up a little pop-up, just ask me for permission to share my camera. You will see there, mine gave that error message saying, camera stream not available. That was just because it was trying to grab the camera that I'm talking to on Teams with, whereas I wanted to grab my laptop camera. So you might find it'll cycle through to find an available camera if that's the case. But it's now, so this is just my laptop sitting over here. It's grabbing my laptop, streaming it up to the classroom display there. So if I wanted to show something, that's my calendar of the day, shows it up there. You will notice the text is the right way around. So unlike, how in a lot of like your video conferencing software, then it mirrors the image, doesn't do it with this, makes it the right way around. So text and everything will appear correctly. Or if I was doing kind of that practical subject, I can do it here, show the students whatever it is that I need to show them. So really useful tool. A few things that are built into it. You do have a pause function in there. So, say it was, I wanted my thing up there, I can pause it. It's going to pause it on the display behind me, but it's not pausing the preview that I'm seeing on my laptop. So what I'm sharing with you, it's not pausing, it's just pausing it up on the display. So if I then want to angle onto something else, I can do that if I need to. From the drop down here, you can select other webcams. So like in my case, so this smart cam here is what I'm talking to over Teams on. I can select that one if I wanted to. So if you've got an external camera of some sort, whether it's a webcam, whether it's a document camera, whatever it is, you can grab those and pop those up as well. You can as well, if you're super fancy and you use things like OBS with their virtual cameras, you can use those. If you're sitting there going, I have no idea what that means, John, you might as well have spoken a different language then. Don't stress, doesn't matter. But yeah, for those who do use it, no, you can use it. And then the brand new thing, so the one that only rolled out a couple of days ago, is the ability to annotate. So you've got this little pencil icon down here. So if I wanted to emphasize something to the students, if I can hold it still, I can do that. It's basically going to take a screenshot. And so now I can, oh, how cute is the dog? So I'm able to, draw over it. So I can, even if it was just some maths problems and I want to show the students how to work through them, I could do that really easily. Or, you've got some text and you want to show the students some key skills around note taking, so all those sorts of things that you can do with it. So really, really useful to have that as well. So that's pretty much the share camera tool. Really, really cool to have. The final new one in here, and this one is brand new. So those people who were on the previous session, you won't have seen this one yet. So this, as I said, rolled out a couple of days ago. So if you don't see this yet, it'll be coming soon. And that is, if I go into my whiteboard, so with the whiteboard, if you haven't used this yet, we've got different drawing tools down along the bottom here. So I've got a pencil, highlighter, shapes, text typing, that sort of stuff. But from the set background, in the past, you were able to select one of our pre-made ones. So we've got some paper, some graphic organizers, some sport fields, and then you could also add images. What's new is you now have the capability to add PDFs. So if you've got a PDF file that you want to use as a background, you can now do that. So for example, if I do that add PDF, and this is the one that I had up before, if it is multi-page like mine is, you'll be able to select which page, and now I can apply it, and I can now draw over the top of it. So I can use this as a background for my whiteboard here. So really, really handy that this is rolled out. I will say you guys are the first people who I'm showing this to, so be privileged. So yeah, it's really awesome that that's in there as well now. So that is the new tool in there. So that was the new stuff I wanted to show you. All right. Now, I did want to mention, I didn't actually put it on the agenda, but I wanted to let you know what's coming next. I can't give you a sneak peek, unfortunately. I don't have a copy of it yet, but our next feature, I have seen it running and I'm actually really excited about it. It's one of those ones that I went, oh, I wish I had this in the classroom. So it's going to be called Stream to Students. What you're going to be able to do is your students who are on their devices. So for example, I've got a student here on my iPad. What you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to click a button in here. And when you share your screen or use any of the other features like share window, share camera, any of those, when you share it to the classroom display, it's also going to push out to the students' devices. So the students will be able to see it directly in front of them. So where I'm thinking this would mostly be used, first up, particularly in some of those classrooms where you kind of want the students to be able to see the detail right in front of them, can be a really good way to do that. But where I'm really going to thinking we're going to see it used is with students who have extra learning needs. So, those students who struggle to be able to concentrate between their workbook in front of them and the big screen up the front of the classroom. So, they'll be able to have it on their device and it's just that bit closer for them and means they can access it that way. So all about that accessibility side of things is what we're really looking for there. So watch this space for it. Due mid-year, I have been told kind of early July. Don't quote me on that because like if the team find a bug or something, it'll be pushed out. But yeah, so looking for kind of that early to midterm 3, you should see that become available. We'll obviously make a big hoo-ha around it. It is going to be a big feature that'll roll out. So we'll have a bunch of resources and stuff like that with it. But definitely watch this space. It's going to be awesome to have in there. So next thing I wanted to show was ClickView in Play Content. Play Content, if you haven't used it before, lets you play things like YouTube videos by pasting in the link or dragging in stuff like images, PDFs, PowerPoints. You can also add in Google Drive files. You can load videos in there, all sorts of things. Key advantage being it frees up your laptop to do other stuff at the same time. Now, we know a lot of schools use ClickView. So we have partnered with ClickView for you to be able to play your ClickView videos through this. And so the big advantage there, instead of just playing it on the ClickView website, is that it frees up your laptop to do other stuff at the same time. So you can play that ClickView video. Like we know a lot of people keep things like movies and documentaries and stuff like that on ClickView. So you don't want to lose your laptop for an hour and a half while the students watch a movie. So you can play it through this and use your laptop at the same time. So the way it works, there are 2 steps. The first step, you're going to click on the ClickView button here in the Vivi app. If you don't see the ClickView button and you are a ClickView school, make sure you bug your IT person because they'll be able to set that up for you and make sure it's up and running. So you'll click on ClickView and this essentially activates it. So it says, it's good to go. My screen is now also saying you can play a video now. So it's saying it's ready to go. Now, if I go to the ClickView website, so I have it here. Let's say I'm going to be playing, my students are watching Legally Blonde. I don't know why, but, for whatever reason, they're going to be watching Legally Blonde. What I'm going to do, on the devices icon down here, I can click on that and it will find my classroom. It'll have the little V logo there. So if you do have things like Apple TVs or anything around, you will see those listed as well. But in my case, I'm looking for the Vivi and I'm looking for my classroom, which is B1. And so I click on that and what it's going to do, it's going to start pushing this through to my classroom display. It should, unless my internet's decided to play up on me. There we go. So that's now playing through. I just realized I've left the sound on for some reason. Let me just turn the sound off on there. So that's playing. If I go back into the Vivi app, you'll see that I now have controls to that video here in the app. So I can pause it. So if it was something where we actually want to discuss it, I can click pause, we can chat about it and then restart it again. If the video's got subtitles, I can pop those on using the closed caption button. I can also control the volume here. And then the green bar that's here, I can click and drag this to a specific point. So say we've already watched half of this movie, I could drag it to the halfway point and it'll continue playback from there. But now that video is playing, I can minimize click view there. I can minimize the Vivi app, just go on with whatever else I want to go on with on my laptop while the students keep watching that video. So super, super useful tool to have. All right. So let's talk students, because that's kind of the main thing that we wanted to focus on today, was how to get students on and how you can utilize it with them. So let me bring up, I've obviously been looking at a teacher here, but I have a student over here. So with a student, first thing to point out, they do need to sign into the Vivi app. So they sign in exactly the same way you do. So select the school name. They'll probably see all the different schools listed. So they just search for it, select it, and then they'll use their department credentials to log in. So I kind of always say, easier to do with kind of that about year 3 upwards. For the juniors, it can be a little bit more tricky, but kind of one of those, you obviously know your students well and how well you can get them on there. Sometimes it's one of those ones where maybe you just need to do the login for them, get them all accessing it, so then they're good to go. So kind of up to you how you handle that one. What I will mention, once they're logged in, keeps them logged in forever. So for those younger students, if you are getting them to log in, it will be a bit of a pain the first time they do it, but once they're logged in, they're good to go. So you don't have to log them in every single time. Once they log in, a little bit like you, they'll see the rooms page. Like, with your school, yours will look different depending on, I'm just using my fake school here. So yours will look different depending on the school setup. And so they connect into your classroom the same way you do by selecting it. Now, I will mention, we do not use class lists, timetables, all that sort of stuff. We do that on purpose because we know schools are flexible places. We know that suddenly you're told, hey, can you take your class in next door because we need to set up for a special event here, all those kind of things that happen. And if we used class lists and stuff like that, it would throw everything out as soon as that sort of scenario happens. So that's why we don't use it, and the students have to connect themselves. Now, one thing that they can do, and this is really relevant for kind of the primary students, then they can set a default room. So a little bit like you can, if you haven't seen default rooms, what this does, when they select it and set it, it skips that room page step. So it just connects them straight into their classroom. So handy one to have in there to encourage your students to set a default in there. Now, what you can see when my student does connect, you can see most of their buttons are grayed out. They can click on share screen as many times as they like, and it does absolutely nothing. There is no way that a student can accidentally or intentionally take charge of the classroom display without my permission. So if I ever want to put a student on the screen, all I'm going to do, I'm going to click on Give Student Control from my app, and I'll see a list of the students who have connected to my display. Now, it is going to be their real names. It won't be silly nicknames or anything like that, just because it all draws it in from the department site. So it's going to be their real names there. So I just choose the student from the list. So in this case, this one here is Steve. So I'm just going to click on Steve's name, and Steve is now sharing to the classroom display. Now, I know this is a little bit weird because my teacher and my student are on the same device here, but this is now the student sharing. So if I go back into the student's app, you can see that his buttons have lit up. So he can use different features like share camera or play content. So he can use these different tools if he wants to. He obviously can't pass control to another student or use a couple of the other tools that I'm going to show you today. But yeah, it still gives him that flexibility to be able to use some of the different tools. What's good to know as well, though, is that while the student is sharing, all of my buttons as the teacher remain active. So if a student puts up something inappropriate, or if I'm just like, you've had enough screen sharing time now, I can stop them. Two main ways to do that. I can click on the stop all or on the X next to their name here. Either of those, students stop sharing, their buttons go back to being grayed out, so I'm back in control of the screen. I can also, if I want to, just click like share screen and it will override them. So I can also use the different features too. So super simple to get students onto the screen, also super simple to remove them. If I'm also looking at my list here of students and I go, oh, Tony, you're not in my class, I can click on the X next to his name and it just kicks him out of my classroom. So he's now disconnected. It's my phone sitting in front of me. So he's now disconnected from my classroom here. So I can bring students in and out as I need to. The one that's also linked to this is split screen. So with split screen, what I can do is get multiple students onto the classroom display at any one time. I can also get myself on there as well. So it's up to 4 that you can get on there. So that could be me and 3 students, could be 4 students, whatever combination that I want to do. So if I want to put myself on there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold on share screen. You'll see it changes into the split screen icon. And then when I let go, I get these options. So I just choose which quarter of the screen I want to be on. So in my case, I'm going to go in the top left. Now, what I'm then going to do is I just realized my iPad was on a weird streaming method. Let me just fix that up. So in order to then get a student into split screen, if I click on give student control, you'll see next to student's name, there's the split screen icon. So I can click on that and then choose where the student's going to go. So Natasha here is just on my iPad. So I'm just going to start the broadcast through. And once I start sharing, you'll see that I now have myself up in the top, my student down the bottom here. So really good for things like comparative work, but where I've also seen it used as well, really simple but super effective, was the teacher got the students to grab up the whiteboard and then they were doing mental maths races. And so they were doing, times tables. And so she did like, what's 10 times 7? And the students had to write it on there. And so it was just, who could get it on quick. So it was lots of, interactiveness and getting the students to engage and be part of it and all those kind of things. So really useful tool to have. Quite simple to use, but super effective with its use. One thing I like to point out with this as well is that this is where the stop all button comes in really handy, because you can click that and stop every sharing at once, as opposed to having to stop each individual person. So really useful there. All right, so that's kind of the getting students onto there. So I then just wanted to briefly talk about a couple of the tools that students can access, and then some things that you can do to help you engage the students a little bit as well. So a couple of things. When I share my screen, you'll see that the students have access to the screenshot button. So they're able to take a screenshot of whatever's on the classroom display. So say I put up some work and I go, hey guys, this would be really useful for the test you've got next week. Then they're able to go into Vivi and click on screenshot. So what will happen, you'll see there that it's saved. So if they're on a laptop of any kind, it's going to save it into their pictures folder in a new folder in there called Vivi. It will do it because Vivi doesn't know what you're sharing. It is just going to name the file after like the date and the time. So I always say, encourage the students to move it into folders, subfolders, rename it, all that sort of stuff. But that's where it saves it. If they're on something like an iPad, it's going to save it into their camera roll, so it's there ready to go. What they also have is the ability to annotate. So they can then annotate over the top of whatever you had on there. So, you could put up some maths problems and say, all right, guys, go into Vivi, click on screenshot, annotate, and I want you to solve these problems. Or put up a close activity and have them fill in the blanks, or a diagram and have them label the diagram, or whatever it is that you wanted them to do. So lots of different applications for this one. With their annotate, and it's also the same with their whiteboard that you can see there, it is individual to their own device. So it's not a shared one or anything like that. It's only happening on their own device. Now, the question I always get asked about this, so I like to preempt it, is what about those scenarios where you don't want students taking a screenshot? So, you could have exemplar work on the board. You don't want students to screenshot that. So the way you can turn this off, if you click on the little cross arrow in the floating toolbar here, you'll see there's a privacy button. When I click on that, you'll see as soon as I select it, the screenshot button has grayed out. What's good to know though is that even with privacy on and the students losing the ability, I don't lose the ability. So I can still take screenshots of that classroom display. So also handy to know that I'm able to access that. Next tool to look at is Message Class. Message Class does literally that, lets me send a message to the students connected to my classroom. Where it comes in really handy is like URLs and stuff like that. So I can paste URLs into it, shoot that out to the students, and they get a clickable link. Now, assessment and polls, Now, what I will say, because I'm very aware of the time and I don't want to run over, but I might run over by a couple of minutes, so I apologise if I do. Assessment, formative assessment, multiple choice, true, false, that sort of stuff. Worth having a look at if that's interested for you, but the one that I think is more useful is polls. So polls, these let you run little well-being style questions, and they're emoji based. So there's an everything okay, which is a thumbs up, thumbs down. There's a how do you feel about what we learned, which is got a happy face to sad face scale, or there's more emotional ones like how do you feel today. So I'm able to start that. You'll see my students now get this capability to respond. So as they respond, I can click on show, see how my students are responding, and deal with this however I need to. So I can see Natasha's positive, Steve is hungry, Tony's angry. So I can deal with that however I want to. Obviously not designed in any way, shape or form to replace a wellbeing program, but they're just to be able to do that nice quick little check-in so I can see how my students are tracking. So just to finish off, what I did want to show you was our where you can access more resources. So on our website, which is just vivi.io, we have learn and support, and we've got a training section, the first option here. When you go into here, essentially what you'll see is some different resources here. So we've got, as I mentioned, the level 1, and then we do have some other things in there to kind of go through those more complex ones. So if you want to go through, so this is where you can see assessment and polls located. If you're like, right, I know John mentioned it, but I just want to go through it in a little bit more detail, you can definitely jump in here. When you go into the courses, it'll have kind of that step-by-step guide, or there's videos there if you're more a video watching kind of person, so you can watch that as well. There is also a webinar that's been recorded that was done by my offsider in the US, Megan, so you can also access that one as well. So that's where those resources are as well.